Chapter 1. The day everything changed. Ben Sinclair had wiped down the same counter 3 times, not because it was dirty, but because small-town life didn't exactly keep a guy on his toes. Sinclair's diner was humming along like it always did. Coffee cups clinking, laughter floating from the corner booth where the retirees held their daily gossip summit, and the smell of Hank Sinclair's famous chicken fried steak drifting from the kitchen like a promise. Ben glanced out the big front window, expecting to see the usual. Mrs. Callahan's ancient Buick, a couple of dusty pickups, maybe a kid on a bike. Instead, a sleek black car screeched into the lot like it had missed the memo about the speed limit being slow enough to wave at your neighbor. Ben frowned. That's not a Buick. The car door flew open, and out stepped a woman. Early 20s, hair in a messy bun that screamed, "I gave up an hour ago," and a little girl clutching a stuffed bunny like it was a life raft. Then came the guy. Dark sunglasses, leather jacket, the kind of swagger that said, "I'm the reason your mother warned you about dating musicians." He popped the trunk, yanked out 2 suitcases, and dropped them on the asphalt with all the tenderness of a sack of potatoes. Ben froze mid-wipe. Well, that's dramatic. The woman was crying now, shoulders shaking, while the little girl's big eyes darted around like she was trying to find the exit in a bad dream. Ben's gut twisted. He didn't know what was happening, but he knew one thing. It wasn't good. Before his brain could remind him that this was none of his business, his legs were already moving. He pushed through the diner door, the bell jingling cheerfully, because nothing says impending disaster like a happy little chime. "Hey," Ben called, jogging toward them. "Everything okay?" The guy in sunglasses turned, smirked, and said something low to the woman that made her cry harder. Then, without another word, he slid into the driver's seat, revved the engine like he was auditioning for a Fast and Furious reboot, and peeled out of the lot, leaving a cloud of dust and 2 abandoned suitcases behind. Ben stopped a few feet away, suddenly aware that he had zero plan. Hi. The woman swiped at her cheeks, muttering, "I'm fine," in the universal tone of people who are absolutely not fine. The little girl clutched her bunny tighter and whispered, "Mommy." Ben crouched down so he was eye level with the kid. "Hey there. You like pancakes?" The girl blinked at him, suspicious but intrigued. Ben grinned. "We've got the best pancakes in town. And ice cream. You ever had ice cream for lunch?" The woman let out a shaky laugh that sounded like it had been dragged through gravel. "You don't have to." "Sure I do," Ben said, standing and grabbing one of the suitcases before she could protest. "Come on. You both look like you could use a booth and something fried." She hesitated, then nodded. Because honestly, what else do you do when your life explodes in a parking lot? Inside, Carly Sinclair was manning the register with her trademark smile, the kind that could make a tax audit feel like a hug. She took one look at the trio, and her eyes softened. "Oh, honey," Carly said, coming around the counter. "Let's get you settled." Ben slid the suitcases by the door and guided the woman and her daughter to a corner booth. The little girl climbed in, bunny still clutched like a security badge. Carly leaned down. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Sunny," the girl whispered. "Well, Sunny," Carly said. "You just made my day brighter." She winked, then turned to the woman. "And you are?" "Cindy," she murmured, voice cracking. Carly squeezed her hand. "Cindy, you're safe here. Let me grab you both something to eat." Ben slid into the opposite side of the booth, trying to look casual and failing miserably. "So that guy? He your ex," Cindy said flatly. "As of 5 minutes ago." Ben winced. "Yikes. He just left you here?" "Pretty much." She gave a bitter laugh. "Said he didn't sign up to play happy family." Ben glanced at Sunny, who was now coloring on a napkin with a crayon Carly had magically produced. His chest tightened. "That's rough." "That's an understatement," Cindy muttered. "My family won't even take my calls. I ran off with him, and they told me if I left, I was on my own." Ben opened his mouth, then shut it, because what do you say to that? "Congrats on winning the worst day ever award?" Carly returned with 2 plates, pancakes for Sunny, a burger for Cindy, and a sundae big enough to qualify as a life preserver. "Eat first," Carly said firmly. "Cry later." Sunny's eyes lit up at the sundae, and for the first time, Cindy smiled. It was small, shaky, but real. Ben leaned back, watching them. Something in his chest shifted, like a gear clicking into place. He didn't know what this was, but he knew one thing. He wasn't letting them walk back out into the cold. By the time Cindy finished her burger, Carly had already hatched a plan, because Carly Sinclair didn't just run a diner. She ran the town's unofficial rescue service. "You're staying here," Carly announced, like it was already settled. "We've got a spare room above the diner. Comes with a job and all the pie you can eat." Cindy blinked. "I what?" "Room and board," Carly said, waving a hand like she was offering a free refill. "You can bring Sunny to work." "No problem." Cindy stared at her like she'd just offered to adopt a stray unicorn. "Why would you do that?" Carly smiled. "Because that's what decent folks do." Ben grinned. "And because Mom likes having extra hands when the lunch rush hits." Cindy laughed, a real laugh this time, and Ben felt something warm bloom in his chest. He didn't know her story yet, but he wanted to. And maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something neither of them saw coming. Chapter 2. Pancakes, Plans, and Parental Meddling. The next morning, Sinclair's smelled like heaven. Coffee brewing, bacon sizzling, and Hank Sinclair humming along to an old country tune in the kitchen. Ben was wiping down menus when he heard the soft patter of little feet on the stairs. Sunny appeared first, bunny in tow, wearing a pink t-shirt that said future CEO. Cindy followed, looking like someone who'd slept in a bed for the first time in weeks. Her hair was still a little wild, but her eyes weren't red anymore, and Ben felt an unexpected surge of relief. "Morning," Ben said, flashing his best smile, the one that usually worked on tourists and occasionally on Mrs. Callahan when she was in a mood. Cindy gave a tentative smile back. "Morning." Sunny climbed onto a stool at the counter like she owned the place. "Pancakes." Ben chuckled. "Kid after my own heart. Coming right up." Carly swept in from the back like a general inspecting her troops. "Well, don't you two look better than yesterday's country song?" She kissed Sunny's head, then turned to Cindy. "Coffee?" "Yes, please," Cindy said, sounding like she might cry tears of gratitude for caffeine. Ben poured her a cup, sliding it across the counter with a flourish. "On the house. Perks of surviving a parking lot soap opera." Cindy laughed, a short, surprised sound, and Ben grinned like he'd just won a prize. By the time Sunny had demolished her pancakes and was working on a second round of syrup art, Carly had already launched into her favorite hobby, life planning for other people. "So," Carly said, leaning on the counter, "you start training today." Cindy blinked. "Training? For the job," Carly said, as if this were obvious. "You're going to help me at the register. Smile. Take orders. Make folks feel welcome. Easy as pie." Cindy hesitated. I don't know if You're perfect," Carly interrupted. "You've got kind eyes. People trust kind eyes." Ben smirked. "And if you mess up, Mom will just blame me. It's a system." Cindy laughed again, and Ben felt that warm click in his chest. He liked that sound. He wanted to hear it more. The lunch rush hit like a tidal wave, and Cindy was thrown straight into the deep end. Ben watched her fumble with the register, apologized 3 times for forgetting to hand out straws, and nearly give a guy 2 slices of pie for free because she couldn't figure out the discount button. "Don't worry," Ben said, swooping in to rescue her from a particularly cranky customer. "You'll get the hang of it." Cindy groaned. "I'm a disaster." "Nah," Ben said, flashing a grin. "You're just entertaining." She narrowed her eyes. "Is that your polite way of saying I'm terrible?" "Terrible? No." Ben leaned closer, lowering his voice. "But if you keep giving away pie, Mom's gonna start charging me rent." Cindy laughed, and Ben felt like he'd just scored a touchdown. He wasn't sure why making her laugh felt like winning, but it did. By closing time, Cindy was exhausted, Sunny was sticky with syrup, and Carly was already plotting tomorrow's schedule. Ben walked them upstairs to the apartment above the diner, carrying Sunny's bunny because apparently he'd been promoted to bunny wrangler. "Thanks," Cindy said softly as they reached the door. "For everything." Ben shrugged, trying to play it cool. "It's nothing." "It's not nothing," she said, meeting his eyes. "You didn't have to help me." Ben held her gaze, serious now. "Yeah, I did." For a second, the air between them felt different, charged, like the moment before a summer storm. Then Sunny yawned so loudly it broke the spell. "Night," Cindy said quickly, ushering her daughter inside. Ben stood there for a moment, staring at the closed door, wondering why his heart was beating like he'd just run a marathon. Downstairs, Carly was wiping down the counter with the smug look of a woman who'd just orchestrated a miracle. "You like her?" Carly said without looking up. Ben froze. "What?" "No. I mean, she's nice, but," Carly smirked. "Ben Sinclair, I've known you since you were born. You've got that look." "What look?" "The look you had when you saw your first football," Carly said. "Like you just found your purpose." Ben groaned. "Mom. Don't mom me," Carly said, wagging a finger. "That girl needs someone steady. And you? Well, you're steady as they come." Ben rubbed the back of his neck, feeling heat creep up his collar. "She's been through a lot. She doesn't need me complicating things." Carly smiled knowingly. "Sometimes, honey, the right complication is exactly what someone needs." Ben didn't answer. He just stared at the stairs, thinking about Cindy's laugh and Sunny's syrup-sticky grin, and wondering if maybe, just maybe, his mom was right. Chapter 3. Sunny side up. By the end of her first week at Sinclair's, Cindy had learned 3 things. 1. Small-town gossip traveled faster than Wi-Fi. 2. Sunny could charm free pie out of anyone with a pulse. 3. Ben Sinclair had a smile that should come with a warning label. She was wiping down the counter when Mrs. Callahan waddled in, clutching her handbag like it contained state secrets. "So," Mrs. Callahan said, eyes twinkling, "you're the new girl." Cindy smiled politely. "I guess I am." Mrs. Callahan leaned closer. "And you're living upstairs?" "Yes, ma'am." Mrs. Callahan's grin widened. "Well, isn't that interesting?" Before Cindy could ask what was interesting, Ben appeared like a human shield, sliding a coffee cup in front of Mrs. Callahan. "Morning, Mrs. C. How's the Buick?" "Still running," she said, eyes flicking between him and Cindy like she was watching a soap opera unfold. "For now." Ben shot Cindy a look that said welcome to the rumor mill. Cindy bit back a laugh. Sunny was perched on a stool, swinging her legs and coloring on a placemat. When Hank brought out a plate of bacon, she gasped like he'd just handed her a winning lottery ticket. "Bacon," she squealed. Hank chuckled. "Kids got priorities." Sunny grinned. "Bacon first, then ice cream." Cindy groaned. "You're going to turn into a sundae." Sunny shrugged. "Okay." Ben laughed, leaning on the counter. "She's got a point." Cindy shot him a look. "Don't encourage her." "Too late," Ben said, sliding Sunny a second strip of bacon. "I'm already her favorite." Sunny nodded solemnly. "You are." Ben winked at Cindy. "See? Official." Cindy rolled her eyes, but her lips twitched. She hated how easy it was to smile around him. It was dangerous. Later, when the lunch rush hit, Cindy found herself juggling orders like a circus act. Ben swooped in to help, moving with the kind of easy confidence that made her both grateful and annoyed. "Relax," he said, grabbing a tray from her hands. "You're gonna sprain something." "I'm fine," Cindy insisted, even as she nearly dropped a plate of fries. Ben grinned. "Sure. And I'm the Queen of England." Cindy snorted. "You'd look great in a crown." Ben leaned closer, voice low. "Careful. I might take that as a challenge." Cindy froze, heat creeping up her neck. Was he flirting? No. Probably just teasing, right? Before she could figure it out, Sonny appeared at her elbow, holding up a crayon drawing. "Look, it's us." Cindy glanced down. The picture showed 3 stick figures, one tall, one medium, one tiny, holding hands under a big yellow sun. Her throat tightened. Ben crouched to look. "Wow, that's artistic." Sonny beamed. "That's you, Mommy, and me." Ben pointed at the tall stick figure. "And that's me." Sonny nodded. "You're smiling." Ben smiled for real then, and Cindy's heart did something weird, like a hiccup, but worse. That night, after closing, Cindy lingered in the kitchen, wiping down counters while Ben stacked chairs. The diner was quiet now, just the hum of the fridge and the faint sound of Hank singing off-key in the back. "Thanks for today," Cindy said softly. "For helping." Ben shrugged. "No problem." She hesitated. "You didn't have to." Ben looked at her, serious now. "Yeah, I did." Their eyes locked, and for a moment, the air felt heavy, like something was about to happen. Then Hank burst in, holding a pie tin like a trophy. "Who wants leftover pecan pie?" he boomed. Cindy jumped, laughing nervously. Ben just shook his head, muttering, "Perfect timing, Dad." Upstairs, Cindy tucked Sonny into bed, her mind spinning. She'd come here broken, terrified, convinced the world was full of people who only took. And now there was Ben. Steady, kind, maddeningly handsome Ben. She didn't know what scared her more, the thought of losing this safe haven, or the thought of wanting more than safety. Downstairs, Ben sat at the counter, staring at Sonny's crayon drawing. 3 stick figures under a bright sun. He traced the little hands with his finger and thought, maybe this isn't just a picture. Maybe it's a preview. Chapter 4, Pie, Pride, and Public Embarrassment. Saturday mornings at Sinclair's were sacred. People came for Hank's biscuits and gravy, Carly's gossip, and the kind of coffee that could wake the dead. Cindy had survived her first week without setting anything on fire, which she considered a win. Today, though, she was determined to do more than survive. She was going to impress Carly. Spoiler, she did not impress Carly. It started with the pie display. Carly had asked Cindy to refill it, which sounded simple enough. Grab pies. Put pies in case. Done. Except Cindy didn't realize the case door stuck sometimes. So when she tugged, it didn't budge. She tugged harder. Still nothing. "Need help?" Ben's voice came from behind her, warm and amused. "Nope," Cindy said through gritted teeth, yanking like her life depended on it. Ben leaned against the counter, arms crossed, grin firmly in place. "You sure? Because that pie looks like it's winning." "I've got this," Cindy snapped, giving one last heroic pull. The door flew open. Cindy stumbled backward, straight into Ben. He caught her, but not before the pie tin slipped from her hand and launched like a frisbee across the diner. Time slowed. Conversation stopped. The tin sailed in a perfect arc and landed upside down on Mrs. Callahan's lap. "Oh my gosh," Cindy gasped, rushing over. "I'm so sorry." Mrs. Callahan stared at the mess, then at Cindy, then at Ben, who was trying very hard not to laugh and failing miserably. "Well," Mrs. Callahan said dryly, "I guess I'm having pie for breakfast." Ben lost it. Full-on laugh, head thrown back, dimples on display. Cindy wanted to crawl under the counter and die. Carly appeared like a general surveying a battlefield. "What happened?" "Pie happened," Ben said, still grinning. Carly sighed, grabbed a towel, and started cleaning up. "Cindy, honey, next time, ask for help." Cindy nodded, cheeks flaming. "Yes, ma'am." Mrs. Callahan patted her hand. "Don't worry, dear. Gives me something to talk about at bingo." Ben leaned close as Cindy wiped the floor. "Hey," he whispered. "For what it's worth, that was the most exciting thing to happen here in months." Cindy shot him a glare. "You're enjoying this way too much." "Absolutely," Ben said, eyes dancing. "But hey, at least you didn't set anything on fire." Cindy groaned. Yet, later, when the chaos settled, Cindy escaped to the back room to breathe. She was mortified. She'd wanted to prove she could handle this, and instead she'd turned breakfast into a slapstick routine. The door creaked, and Ben slipped in, holding 2 sodas. "Peace offering," he said, handing her one. Cindy took it reluctantly. "You didn't have to." "Sure I did," Ben said, leaning against the wall. "You look like you're about to quit." "I'm not quitting," Cindy said quickly. I wanted to do a good job." Ben's voice softened. "You are." She snorted. "Did you miss the part where I pied a customer?" Ben grinned. "Hey, Mrs. Callahan's been coming here for 20 years. She needed a story." Cindy laughed despite herself, and Ben's chest did that weird warm thing again. He liked making her laugh. He liked her. More than he should. When Cindy headed upstairs that night, Sonny was already asleep, clutching her bunny. Cindy paused at the window, looking down at the quiet street. She'd thought this town would feel like a cage. Instead, it felt safe. Like maybe she could breathe again. And maybe, just maybe, she could stop running. Downstairs, Ben wiped down the counter, replaying her laugh in his head. He didn't know what this was turning into, but he knew one thing. He was in trouble. Big trouble. Chapter 5. The Great Pumpkin Fiasco. If there was one thing Cindy had learned about small towns, it was that they loved their festivals. Today's was the annual Harvest Jubilee, which sounded charming until Carly announced, "You're going." Cindy blinked. What? You've been here a month," Carly said, hands on hips. "Come to meet folks. And don't worry, Ben will take you." Ben, who had been innocently refilling the coffee pot, froze mid-pour. "Wait, what?" Carly smiled sweetly. "You're going. Both of you. Sonny too." Ben opened his mouth to protest, then caught Cindy's wide-eyed look and shut it. "Sure," he said, forcing a grin. "Sounds fun." 2 hours later, Cindy found herself standing in the middle of the town square, surrounded by hay bales, pumpkin displays, and enough plaid shirts to start a lumberjack convention. Sonny was bouncing with excitement, clutching a caramel apple like it was treasure. "This is a lot," Cindy murmured. Ben grinned. "Welcome to Small Town Saturday." Cindy eyed a sign that read pumpkin toss contest. "Winner gets a pie." Pumpkin toss. Ben shrugged. "It's a tradition." "Of course it is," Cindy muttered. They wandered past booths selling homemade jams and questionable crafts. Cindy was still trying to figure out why someone had crocheted a hat for a chicken when Carly appeared out of nowhere like a matchmaking ninja. "Pumpkin toss starts in 5, she chirped. "Ben, you're up." Ben groaned. "Mom." Carly ignored him and turned to Cindy. "You too, honey." Cindy blinked. "Me? Couples compete," Carly said with a wink. Cindy sputtered. "We're not." "Sure you are," Carly said, already shoving a pumpkin into Ben's hands. "Now go win me that pie." 5 minutes later, Cindy was standing across from Ben, holding a pumpkin that felt like it weighed as much as Sonny. The rules were simple. Toss the pumpkin back and forth without dropping it. Each round, they stepped farther apart. "Ready?" Ben asked, grinning like this was the best day of his life. "No," Cindy said flatly. "Too bad," Ben said, tossing the pumpkin lightly. Cindy caught it with a squeak, nearly falling over. "Okay," she said, adjusting her grip. "Your turn." She lobbed it back, except her aim was terrible. The pumpkin veered left, and Ben had to dive like he was saving a touchdown. He landed in a pile of hay, pumpkin in hand, grinning like an idiot. The crowd cheered. Cindy covered her face. "I'm so bad at this." Ben stood, hay sticking out of his hair. "You're great. I almost killed you with a pumpkin." "Worth it," Ben said, eyes sparkling. They made it to the final round, mostly because Ben had the reflexes of a football player and Cindy had sheer stubbornness. When they finally dropped the pumpkin, when Cindy dropped the pumpkin, the crowd groaned good-naturedly. "Pie goes to the Millers," the announcer called. Cindy sighed. "Sorry." Ben shrugged, brushing hay off his shirt. "Don't be. That was fun." She smiled, and for a second, the noise of the festival faded. It was just him, grinning at her like she was the only person in the world. Then Sonny barreled into them, caramel apple in hand. "You didn't win." Ben crouched. "Nope. Guess we'll have to buy our pie." Sonny frowned. "That's okay. You still smell like hay." Ben laughed, and Cindy did too, because honestly, he did. Later, as they walked back to the diner under strings of twinkling lights, Cindy felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Light. Like maybe life wasn't just surviving anymore. Like maybe it could be sweet. And Ben? Ben was thinking the same thing. Except his thoughts included how good Cindy looked laughing under those lights, and how much he wanted to keep that smile forever. Chapter 6. Gossip, grins, and a glimpse of forever. By Monday morning, Cindy had convinced herself the Harvest Jubilee was no big deal. Just a festival. Just a friendly outing. Definitely not a date. Unfortunately, the town disagreed. The diner was packed with regulars, and Cindy could feel eyes on her the moment she walked in. Mrs. Callahan was perched at her usual booth, sipping coffee like it was liquid gossip. Well, she said as Cindy passed. "Look who survived the pumpkin toss." Cindy forced a smile. "Barely." Mrs. Callahan winked. Ben looked mighty happy, though. Cindy's cheeks warmed. "It was just, sure, honey," Mrs. Callahan said, drawing out the word like she was savoring it. Behind the counter, Ben was flipping pancakes like nothing had happened, but the grin tugging at his mouth told a different story. "Morning," he said, sliding a plate toward her. "Hungry?" Cindy narrowed her eyes. "You told people it was a date, didn't you?" Ben looked innocent. Too innocent. "Me? Nope." "Then why is Mrs. Callahan looking at me like I'm starring in a Hallmark movie?" Ben shrugged. "Small town. They see two people breathing in the same vicinity and assume wedding bells." Cindy groaned. "Great." Ben leaned closer, voice low. "Could be worse. At least they didn't see you almost take me out with a pumpkin." Cindy laughed despite herself, and Ben's grin widened like he'd just scored another win. Sonny barreled in from the back, wearing an apron 3 sizes too big. "I'm helping." Carly followed, beaming. She insisted. Sonny climbed onto a stool and announced, "Ben's my best friend." Ben chuckled. "That's true." Cindy shook her head. "You're spoiling her." Ben winked. "She started it." Sonny grinned. "We're a team." Cindy's heart squeezed. She'd spent months feeling like she had no team, no safety net. And now here they were. Ben, Sonny, Carly, Hank. A family that wasn't hers, but felt like it could be. The lunch rush hit, and Cindy threw herself into work, but every time she passed Ben, her pulse did something weird. He was everywhere, grabbing plates, charming customers, flashing that smile that made her forget how to breathe. At one point, their hands brushed as they reached for the same coffee pot. Cindy froze. Ben didn't. He just looked at her, eyes warm, and said softly, "Got it." 2 words. That's all. But Cindy felt them like a spark. Later, when the diner emptied out, Cindy escaped to the back room to catch her breath. She was wiping down a tray when Ben appeared in the doorway, leaning against the frame like he had all the time in the world. "You okay?" he asked. "Fine," Cindy said quickly. Too quickly. Ben tilted his head. "You sure?" She hesitated, then sighed. I don't want people thinking that we're a thing." Ben finished. Cindy nodded, staring at the tray. "Yeah." Ben was quiet for a beat. Then, softly, "What if we were?" Cindy's head snapped up. "What?" Ben shrugged, casual, but his eyes weren't. "Just saying." Her heart thudded. She opened her mouth, but Sonny's voice rang out from the front. "Mommy." "Hot." Ben smiled, pushing off the doorframe. "Saved by dessert." He left, and Cindy stood there, pulse racing, wondering what scared her more, the idea of him joking or the idea that he wasn't. That night, after Sonny was asleep, Cindy sat by the window, staring at the quiet street. She'd come here broken, convinced she'd never trust anyone again. And now? Now she was wondering if trust wasn't the problem. Maybe the problem was wanting more. Downstairs, Ben wiped down the counter, replaying her expression in his head. He wasn't sure what tomorrow would bring, but he knew one thing. He wasn't backing off. Not now. Not ever. Chapter 7. The Great Pie Catastrophe. By the time autumn rolled into town, Sinclair's diner had become Cindy's second home. And, if Ben was honest, her laugh had become his favorite background music. She'd settled into the rhythm of diner life, like she'd been born with an apron on. Sonny had claimed the corner booth as her personal kingdom, complete with crayons, coloring books, and a rotating cast of regulars who treated her like the town mascot. Ben told himself he was fine. Totally fine. Just a guy who happened to look forward to work every day because Cindy was there. And maybe he noticed the way her hair curled at the ends when she laughed. And maybe he replayed that laugh in his head like his favorite song. But fine. Totally fine. Until the pie incident. It started innocently enough. Carly had decided Sinclair's needed a seasonal special, pumpkin pie with whipped cream and a sprinkle of cinnamon. "People love festive," she declared, waving a recipe card like a battle flag. "We're going to sell out." Ben was skeptical. "Mom, it's pie, not a Taylor Swift concert." "Don't sass me, Benjamin," Carly said, already elbow deep in pumpkin puree. "You're on whipped cream duty." Ben groaned. "Why do I feel like this is going to end badly?" Cindy was wiping down tables when Carly called out, "Sweetheart, can you grab the cinnamon shaker from the top shelf?" Cindy stretched up, standing on tiptoe, and Ben, because he was a gentleman and definitely not because he liked watching her reach, stepped in. "Here, let me." He snagged the shaker easily, flashing a grin. "Tall guy perks." Cindy rolled her eyes. "Congratulations on your genetic lottery." Ben smirked. "Thanks. I'd like to thank my parents and milk." She laughed, and Ben felt that familiar warmth in his chest. He was about to hand her the shaker when Carly yelled, "Ben, whipped cream." Now, Ben turned, and that's when disaster struck. The whipped cream canister had been sitting too close to the edge of the counter. When Ben reached for it, his elbow bumped the cinnamon shaker in Cindy's hand. It flew like a tiny missile, hit the edge of the pie plate, and, because physics has a sense of humor, the entire pumpkin pie launched into the air in slow motion. Ben lunged. Cindy gasped. Sonny squealed. "Catch it, Benny." He caught it. Sort of. The pie landed face first on his shirt, whipped cream exploding like a festive crime scene. Ben froze, holding the empty plate like a trophy of failure. Cindy clapped a hand over her mouth, eyes wide. "Oh my God." Ben looked down at himself. Pumpkin goo dripping, cinnamon dusting his hair like holiday cheer, and deadpanned. Nailed it. Cindy burst out laughing. Not polite giggles, full-on, tears streaming, can't breathe laughter. Sonny joined in, chanting, "Pumpkin Benny. Pumpkin Benny." Carly sighed, hands on hips. "Well, at least you're seasonal." Ben grabbed a towel, muttering, "This is why I don't do festive." Cindy grinned, still laughing as she helped wipe whipped cream off his arm. "You look like a Pinterest fail." "Thanks," Ben said dryly. "Glad I could make your day." Her smile softened. "You always do." Ben froze. The diner noise faded, replaced by the thud of his heartbeat. She didn't seem to realize what she'd said. She was already turning back to Sonny, who was now drawing a pumpkin pie with stick arms. But Ben heard it, and for the first time, he wondered if maybe, just maybe, he wasn't the only one feeling something. That night, after closing, Ben found himself lingering by the door as Cindy packed up Sonny's crayons. "Hey," he said, trying to sound casual and failing miserably. "You, want to grab coffee sometime?" "Not here. Somewhere that doesn't involve pie trauma." Cindy blinked, surprised. Then she smiled. A slow, warm smile that made his stomach flip. "I'd like that." Ben grinned, feeling like he'd just scored the winning touchdown. "Cool. Great. No whipped cream involved." Sonny piped up, "Can I come?" Ben crouched down, ruffling her hair. "Kiddo, you can come to every coffee date we ever have." Cindy laughed, shaking her head. "You're ridiculous." Ben grinned. "And yet, you said yes." Chapter 8. Latte, love, and public humiliation. Ben Sinclair had faced linebackers twice his size, survived college finals, and once eaten a gas station burrito without dying. But nothing, Nothing. Prepared him for the sheer terror of waiting outside Brew and Bean, the town's only coffee shop that thought chalkboard menus and indie playlists made it urban chic. He checked his watch for the 5th time. 5 minutes early. Perfect. Not too eager, not too late. He'd even worn his good flannel, the one without the mysterious ketchup stain. This was going to be fine. Totally fine. Then Cindy walked in. Ben forgot how breathing worked. She wasn't in her diner uniform. She was in jeans and a soft sweater that made her look, well, like trouble. The good kind. Her hair was down, curling around her shoulders like it had a personal vendetta against his self-control. Hey, she said, smiling like she didn't know she'd just ruined his ability to form coherent sentences. Hey, Ben managed, standing so fast he nearly knocked over the chair. Smooth. Real smooth. They ordered. Cindy got a caramel latte. Ben went for black coffee because he was a man of simple tastes, and also because he panicked when the barista asked if he wanted oat milk. They found a table by the window, and for a moment, everything felt easy, until the toddler brigade arrived. Sonny had insisted on coming, because apparently, coffee dates were family events now, and she was currently perched in a booster seat, sipping chocolate milk like royalty. Ben didn't mind. He loved that kid, but he hadn't factored in her enthusiasm for public commentary. So, Cindy said, stirring her latte. This is nice. Yeah, Ben said, nodding. Really nice. Sonny leaned forward, stage whispering. Are you going to kiss her now? Ben choked on his coffee. Cindy's eyes went wide. Then she burst out laughing, nearly spilling her drink. Sonny, Cindy hissed, cheeks pink. We don't, but you like her, Sonny said matter-of-factly, pointing at Ben. You look at her like Daddy looked at his guitar. Ben coughed harder, because wow, that was specific. Cindy covered her face, laughing so hard she snorted. Ben grinned despite himself. Well, he said, voice hoarse, guess the cat's out of the bag. Sonny beamed. Cats are cute. They tried to recover, but fate wasn't done with them. Halfway through the date, the barista announced loudly, pumpkin spice emergency. We're out. And the entire cafe groaned like civilization had collapsed. Cindy leaned in, whispering, small town drama. It's real. Ben chuckled. You should have seen the great bacon shortage of 19. People were ready to riot. She laughed, and for a moment, the awkwardness melted away. They talked about music, movies, the weird quirks of diner regulars. Cindy confessed she once tried to make lasagna and accidentally set off a smoke alarm. Ben admitted he once wore 2 different shoes to school and didn't notice until lunch. It was easy, fun, until Sonny struck again. Benny, she said, loud enough for the entire cafe to hear. When you marry mommy, can I have a puppy? Ben froze mid-sip. Cindy froze mid-laugh. The barista froze mid-pump of caramel syrup. Ben cleared his throat. Oh wow, that's ambitious. Cindy buried her face in her hands. Sonny shrugged. You said you love her. Ben blinked. I what? You said it when you were cleaning tables, Sonny said, swinging her legs. You said, I love her laugh. That means you love her. Cindy peeked through her fingers, cheeks flaming. Ben felt his ears burn. Well, he said slowly, she's not wrong about the laugh. Cindy stared at him, eyes wide, and for a second, the world tilted. Then she smiled, soft, shy, but real. You're ridiculous. Ben grinned. And yet, you keep saying yes. They left Brew and Bean with Sonny skipping between them, humming some made-up wedding march. Ben held the door for Cindy, their hands brushing, and something electric zipped up his arm. He didn't kiss her, not yet. But he knew one thing. This wasn't just a coffee date. It was the start of something that felt like forever. Chapter 9. The Ambush Dinner. Ben Sinclair had survived pie disasters, coffee dates with Sonny as the third wheel, and one memorable afternoon when Cindy accidentally sprayed him with the soda gun. But nothing prepared him for what his parents had cooked up tonight. Literally and figuratively. It started with a text from Carly. Dinner at the house tonight. Bring Cindy. And Sonny. No excuses. Red heart. Ben stared at his phone. No excuses. Was Carly speak for we're plotting something, and resistance is futile. He sighed, already picturing his mom's innocent smile and his dad's silent smirk, the universal Sinclair signs of mischief. When Ben picked up Cindy and Sonny, she looked suspicious. Your mom invited us for dinner? Yeah, Ben said, trying to sound casual. She likes feeding people. It's her love language. Cindy narrowed her eyes. This isn't weird, is it? Ben grinned. Define weird. She groaned. Ben. He held up a hand. Relax. It's just dinner. No hidden agenda. Spoiler, there was a hidden agenda. The moment they walked in, Carly swooped down like a hawk in pearls. Cindy. Sonny. You look adorable. She hugged them both, then shot Ben a look that said, don't mess this up, son. Hank appeared from the kitchen, wiping his hands on a towel. Hope you're hungry. Made my famous roast. Ben muttered. You only make that for special occasions. Carly beamed. Exactly. Cindy blinked. Special occasion? Carly waved it off. Oh, nothing. Just family dinner. Ben felt a prickle of dread. His parents were up to something. He could smell it, along with the roast. Dinner started fine. Sonny was happily munching carrots. Cindy was laughing at Hank's stories about diner regulars, and Ben was almost relaxed. Until Carly dropped the bomb. So, Cindy, Carly said sweetly, how do you feel about small-town life? Permanent small-town life. Cindy froze, fork halfway to her mouth. I mean, it's nice. Carly nodded like a general confirming battle plans. Good. Because Ben's been talking about settling down. Ben choked on his water. Mom. Cindy's eyes widened. What? Carly smiled innocently. What? I'm just saying he's a good boy. Handsome. Hardworking. Great with kids. Sonny piped up. Benny makes the best pancakes. Ben groaned. Not helping, kiddo. Cindy laughed nervously, cheeks pink. That's sweet. Carly leaned in. And he's single. Ben buried his face in his hands. Mom, please. Hank chuckled. What? We're just making conversation. Ben shot him a look. You're enjoying this way too much. The misunderstanding hit like a freight train when Carly added, we'd love to have you in the family. Cindy blinked. Wait, what? Ben sat up so fast his chair squeaked. No, she means, like, diner family. Work family. Not, marriage family. Cindy stared at him, then at Carly, then back at him. Marriage. Carly gasped. Oh, honey, I didn't mean to scare you. Ben groaned. You definitely scared her. Cindy laughed, awkward, breathless. Wow. Okay, that's a lot. Ben rubbed the back of his neck. Ignore them. They're meddling. Carly patted Cindy's hand. We just adore you, sweetheart. Cindy smiled weakly. I adore you too. But maybe let's slow down. Ben muttered. Please. After dinner, as Ben walked Cindy and Sonny to the car, he said, I'm sorry. They're enthusiastic. Cindy laughed softly. It's okay. Honestly, it's kind of nice. I'm not used to people wanting me around. Ben stopped, heart squeezing. Well, get used to it. Because I do. She looked up, eyes shining. Ben. He grinned, trying to lighten the mood. And for the record, if I ever propose, it won't be over roast beef. She laughed, and the tension melted like butter on Hank's biscuits. Good to know. Ben opened the car door for her, thinking, one day. Just not tonight. Chapter 10. The roast beef aftershock. Cindy had never been ambushed by a roast before. Or by a family dinner that felt suspiciously like a pre-engagement party. She spent the entire drive home replaying Carly's words. We'd love to have you in the family. Family. Marriage. Permanent small-town life. She liked Ben. Okay, she more than liked him. But was he really thinking that far ahead? They'd had coffee dates, shared laughs, and one unforgettable pie disaster. That didn't exactly scream wedding bells. Unless it did. The next morning at the diner, Cindy was wiping down the counter when Ben walked in, looking unfairly good in a gray Henley that made her brain short-circuit. He grinned. Morning. Morning, she said, trying to sound normal while her thoughts were anything but. Does he want to marry me? Do I want him to marry me? Why is he so tall? Ben leaned on the counter. You okay? You look intense. Cindy blurted. Are you planning to propose? Ben blinked. What? She winced. Sorry, that came out wrong. Your mom, she said. Ben laughed, startled. Wow, straight to the point. Cindy groaned, covering her face. Forget I said anything. Ben grinned, teasing. Should I get down on one knee now or wait until after the lunch rush? She peeked through her fingers. Ben. He softened, leaning closer. Hey, I'm not mad. And for the record, if I ever propose, it'll be because I want to, not because my mom thinks roast beef is romantic. Cindy laughed, tension easing. Good. Because that was a lot. Ben nodded. Yeah, my parents mean well, but subtlety isn't their strong suit. Unfortunately, subtlety wasn't Sonny's strong suit either. Later that day, while Cindy was refilling coffee, Sonny announced to the entire diner, Benny's gonna marry mommy. Every head turned. Cindy froze mid-pour. Ben nearly dropped the plate. Mrs. Callahan clapped her hands. Oh, how wonderful. Ben sputtered, no. She's, Sonny. Where did you, Sonny beamed. Grandma said. Ben groaned. Of course she did. Cindy wanted to sink into the floor. I'm so sorry. Ben grinned sheepishly. Don't be. At least now the whole town's invested. Cindy laughed despite herself. Great. No pressure. That night, Cindy sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the ceiling. She wasn't scared because Ben might want more. She was scared because she did too. And that terrified her. Wanting things had never worked out before. But then she remembered the way Ben looked at her when he said, because I want to. No games. No hidden agenda. Just honesty. Maybe, she thought, that was worth trusting. Chapter 11. The truth comes out. Ben had rehearsed this moment 100 times in his head. Usually while scrubbing tables or flipping burgers. But now that Cindy was standing in front of him, hair loose around her shoulders, eyes wary and hopeful all at once, every practiced word evaporated like steam off Hank's grill. The diner was quiet. Closing time. Sonny was upstairs, asleep in the little room that had become her safe haven. It was just them, and the hum of the neon sign outside casting a soft glow through the window. Ben took a breath. Cindy, can we talk? Her brows knit. That sounds serious. It is, he said, voice low. But not scary. I promise. She slid into a booth, and he sat across from her, hands clasped like he was holding on to courage. I need you to know something. And I need to say it without my mom barging in with roast beef and wedding bells. Cindy laughed softly, tension easing a fraction. Okay, I'm listening. Ben stared at her for a beat, then said, you changed everything. Her lips parted, surprise flickering in her eyes. Ben. No, let me finish, he said, leaning forward. The day you walked into this diner. Well, technically, the day you got dumped in the parking lot. I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I couldn't let you stand there crying with a little girl who looked like the world had ended. Cindy swallowed hard, eyes glistening. I thought I was just helping, Ben continued. giving you a job, a place to stay. But somewhere along the way, it stopped being about helping. It became about wanting you here. Not because you needed me, but because I needed you. Her breath hitched. Ben. He smiled faintly. You're strong, Cindy. Stronger than you think. You've built a life here, for you and Sonny, and I've watched you do it with grit and grace. And every day, I've fallen a little more in love with you. The words hung in the air like a held breath. Cindy blinked, tears spilling over. You what? I love you, Ben said simply. And I love Sonny. That kid. She reminds me what dreams feel like. I don't want to just be the guy who gave you a job. I want to be the guy who's there for every scraped knee, every bedtime story, every laugh. I want a future with you. Both of you. Cindy covered her mouth, a sob breaking free. Ben, I didn't think that anyone could love you without wanting something, he finished gently. I know, but I'm not him. I'm not here for games. If you want something from me, just ask. And if you want me, really want me, I'm all in. She laughed through tears, shaky and beautiful. You're ridiculous. Ben grinned. Yeah, but you like that about me. She nodded, smiling through the tears. I do. Ben reached across the table, taking her hand. So what do you say? Can I love you forever? Her fingers tightened around his. Yes, she whispered. Yes, Ben. And for the first time in a long time, Cindy felt like the world wasn't ending. It was just beginning. Chapter 12. Blessings and Beginnings. Ben Sinclair had faced plenty of nerve-wracking moments in his life. Fourth quarter plays, college finals. Even the day he walked back into Sinclair's after his engagement imploded. But nothing compared to this, standing on Cindy's parents' porch, holding his breath like a man about to jump off a cliff. He'd made the 3-hour drive with one goal, do right by Cindy. She deserved more than a ring. She deserved peace with the people who raised her, even if it meant walking straight into the lion's den. Her mom opened the door, surprise flickering across her face. Ben. Ma'am, Ben said, removing his cap like he was meeting royalty. I'm here to talk about Cindy. Her brows knitted. Is she okay? She's better, Ben said carefully. But she thinks you hate her. And that's killing her. The woman's eyes softened. Oh, honey. Ben swallowed hard. I'm not here to tell you what to do. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. And Sonny? That little girl's a miracle. I want to marry Cindy. But I can't do that without your blessing. Silence stretched. Then her mom stepped aside. Come in. The conversation was long, awkward, and raw. Ben laid it all out. The breakup in the parking lot, the months of rebuilding, the way Cindy worked herself to the bone just to stand on her own 2 feet. Her parents listened, faces shifting from guilt to heartbreak to something like hope. Finally, her dad cleared his throat. We were wrong. Ben blinked. Sir, we thought she'd learn the hard way, he said quietly. We didn't think she'd lose everything. Her mom's voice trembled. We want to see her, if she'll let us. Ben smiled, relief washing over him. She will. I'll set up dinner. And just like that, the first crack in the wall appeared. 2 weeks later, Cindy stood in Sinclair's private dining room, staring at her parents like they were ghosts. Ben had arranged everything. Quiet, simple, no pressure. Carly had cooked enough food to feed a small army, and Hank had even worn a tie, which was basically a declaration of war on casual wear. Cindy's hands shook as her mom whispered, Sweetheart. Sonny peeked out from behind Cindy's legs. Grandma. Her mom's face crumpled. Oh, baby. She dropped to her knees, hugging Sonny like she'd never let go. Cindy's tears spilled over, and Ben felt his chest ache in the best way. They talked for hours, apologies, laughter, stories that had been gathering dust for years. By the end of the night, Cindy's smile was brighter than Ben had ever seen. When her parents left, Cindy turned to Ben, eyes shining. You did this. Ben shrugged, trying to play it cool. Just thought you deserved a happy ending. She laughed through her tears. Ben. He took her hands, heart pounding. Cindy, I love you. I've loved you since the day you walked into the diner with Sonny and a suitcase. You changed everything for me. Her breath hitched. Ben. He dropped to one knee, pulling out a small velvet box. Marry me. Cindy gasped, hands flying to her mouth. Oh my God. Ben grinned. Say yes before my mom bursts in with a camera. She laughed, crying now. Yes. Yes. He slid the ring onto her finger, then turned to Sonny, who was bouncing like a pogo stick. And you, kiddo, got something for you too. He handed her a tiny ring with her birthstone and a folder. These are adoption papers. If your mom says yes, will you let me love you forever? Sonny squealed, throwing her arms around his neck. Yes, Benny. Forever. Ben hugged her tight, Cindy hugging them both. And for the first time in his life, Ben Sinclair felt like every dream he'd ever had was standing right there in his arms. Chapter 13. Happily ever awkward. The Sinclair wedding was supposed to be simple. That was the plan. But plans, as Ben had learned, were like whipped cream cans. One wrong move, and everything exploded. The ceremony was set in the town's little park, under an arch Carly decorated with enough flowers to make a florist cry. Hank was in charge of music, which meant the playlist was a chaotic mix of country ballads and one random Beyoncé track, because it felt right. Sonny twirled in her flower girl dress, scattering petals like confetti. Benny, look, I'm a princess. Ben grinned, adjusting his tie. You're the boss of this wedding, kiddo. Carly bustled over, clutching a clipboard like a general before battle. Ben, don't forget to smile. Cindy, don't trip. Hank, for heaven's sake, stop humming. Cindy laughed. radiant in a simple lace gown that made Ben forget how to breathe. Your mom's intense. Ben smirked. She's been planning this since the day you walked into the diner. Cindy rolled her eyes. Figures. The ceremony started smoothly, until Hank hit play and Beyoncé's Single Ladies blasted through the speakers. Ben froze. Cindy snorted. Carly hissed. Wrong track. Hank shrugged. It's a classic. The guests laughed, and Ben leaned toward Cindy. You still want to marry into this circus? She grinned. More than ever. When the music finally switched to something vaguely romantic, Ben took Cindy's hands. The world faded. Just her, him, and Sonny bouncing in the front row like a caffeinated bunny. The officiant cleared his throat. Ben, your vows? Ben swallowed, heart pounding. Cindy, the day you walked into Sinclair's, my life changed. You taught me that love isn't about grand gestures. It's about pancakes at midnight, laughter after pie disasters, and holding on when everything falls apart. I promise to love you, protect you, and never let you doubt how much you mean to me. Cindy blinked back tears. Ben, her voice trembled as she spoke. You saved me when I didn't believe anyone would. You showed me kindness when I thought the world had none left. I promise to love you fiercely, to trust you, and to never take for granted the way you make me feel safe. Ben grinned. Even when I'm covered in pumpkin pie? She laughed through tears. Especially then. The officiant smiled. Sonny, you have something to say? Sonny marched up, clutching her tiny ring. I just want to say, Benny's the best. And now he's my dad forever. The crowd melted into a collective awe as Ben hugged her tight. Forever, kiddo. When the rings were exchanged and the kiss sealed the deal, Carly cheered loud enough to scare birds out of nearby trees. Hank cranked up the music, thankfully not Beyoncé this time, and the reception turned into a joyful chaos of dancing, pie, no disasters this time, and laughter that echoed into the night. Ben looked around, his parents laughing with Cindy's, Sonny spinning in circles, Cindy smiling at him like he hung the moon, and thought, this is it. This is home. And for the first time, Ben Sinclair believed in happily ever after. Awkward, messy, loud, but perfect.